Well, I just had to pull a small shed lagomorph off of the cushion I'm leaning on, thanks to this one. Because they're not dust bunnies. They're made mostly of her fluff. Huh. You shed all over the stuff. At least it hasn't gained sentience yet. Having one of you is more than enough. Huh. So, yesterday, I downloaded a demo of a game called Kenshi, which I would not have heard of if it weren't for my following Spike, Iron Spike on Twitter, Spike of Iron Circus Comics, Spike Trotman? Yeah. Because she's been playing it and kind of telling the story with pictures, screen caps of her progress as she grows and spreads and methodically hunts down the misogynistic slaver, holy something or others. So, I decided, well, it seems interesting. I can give it a try. And I have thoughts about the demo. I haven't gotten very far into it, but I'm glad how much it lets me explore. And that was more the thing I wanted to talk about, because now I haven't played a lot of game demos, certainly not in a long time, but demos of things fail very easily in being too limited in the scope of what to expect they let you experience. This happens with software trials as well, but it tells you outright your skills will be limited to this point. You will have limited access to the map. It lets you know up front what you're missing out on, so far as where the trimming or boundaries are, rather than you get to play this little sub-chapter of this part of a game and don't get to have any context for the kind of scope you're going to encounter. So I do appreciate how much of an idea of the feel and complexity of the game you get to experience with just the demo. Now, since I'm not going through the Steam one, I just wanted the non-Steam stuff. You technically download the whole thing, it just will not unlock most of the content without that product key. But that's okay. That's a simpler way of going about it. Cat. But I have survived my first night. So, and yes, that is actually a task all in itself. I have turned down all the difficulty settings as much as I can, and the game is still difficult. It's just meant to be. But it's an open world, and you can take a lot of different approaches to things, which is something I appreciate in games. Hence why I've always liked the Elder Scrolls games, despite the bugs that are inherent, especially in the later ones. I mean, technically at this point there's issues with all of them because the first ones were on older systems that getting it to run the way it did then now has new problems introduced. And the newer ones have a, oh, you didn't want to clip through that terrain? Sorry. Thanks, Bethesda. Anyway. But, yeah. The only other thing that came to mind with this was, since I haven't played demos of stuff in a long time, there is one piece of software that came to mind, mostly because it annoys me. Because it was meant to just be a free version, not a trial, an actual just free version of a thing. It is a trial because without telling you when or how many uses or how many days, it doesn't specify. You get to a point where it demands a code, and since it's video editing software, this matters. You stop being able to export. That's essentially it bricks itself. And on top of the other, you shouldn't need the internet for this, and I didn't give you permission to stop doing that shit, you skeezy fucking thing. It's a good way to guarantee that, no, you're never actually going to get my money for this. I don't care that it actually does the job I want done in a way that isn't obtuse. Your practices otherwise have made me disinclined. So, I don't know. I'm curious about people's experiences with demos of games and trials of stuff, because what I can remember of them is they were never a very good, in the game demos anyway, they were never a very good perspective on the scope of experience you might get. Because you don't need to spoil content to give me an idea of the scale of game and the kind of mechanics I'm going to be encountering. And if you have to spoil your game to tell me how it works, which they didn't, they just chose not to include relevant content anyway. I'm rambling because I have a thought there, but I don't have a good way of spreading it. But this has been Kitty Rambles, day 22? Day 22. How about that, kitty girl? Yeah, you can tell how thrilled she is. Talk to you tomorrow.